Yeah, Jeremy, all he cares about is hooking up with a girl crow and
No, no,
shiny
let's
things.
be clear. Hooking up with a girl.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like his whole
That
motivation.
was, man.
I was like, man, he is all over this show.
Yeah, yeah, no, no.
Yeah.
There was definitely a scene where I'm just like, "Hey, back off, Mrs. Brisby." Like, she's
Jeremy, please leave.
don't hit on the single mom with 4 kids. Just don't. Like, move on, Jeremy. She needs someone better in life, not you.
Hey, it's your guy Ren. Welcome to Cinema Slime, a podcast for film lovers who can't stop talking about the movies that move us, confuse us, or just make us want to yell at the screen. I'm joined, as always, by my brilliant co-hosts Harrison and Scott. Let's go.
Okay, I had one of those weekends where I got really hyper focused on something, and I was like, okay, let's flesh this out. Let's figure this out. Like, I want to figure out this. It's just this nerdy project I'm working on, and I sunk probably 5 hours this weekend, like just really working on it. And then I executed my plan, and I hated it. and I just hate everything about it. And I'm like, this is not what I envisioned. This is not what I wanted. And then I went through this cycle of like, wow, I just spent 5 hours on that. This is so dumb. I can't believe I just did that. And then I'm like, it isn't even that important. Like it's just a nerdy like board game project. And then I thought like, wow, this is like really upsetting me, and this is not important. And it was just really frustrating. I was just like, this is so stupid.
You know what's interesting about projects like that is just the fact that you're saying you sunk 5 hours into a thing and that was like something you're even thinking about tells me you're married and have kids and work.
Yeah.
Because even if you were working full time and even married but didn't have kids, you'd be like, yeah, I just did a weekend project. You wouldn't
Yeah.
even say it took 5 hours because you'd be like, oh, I'm so strapped for time, but I found 5 hours worth of time uninterrupted and it was not even a problem. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Control freak.
Control freak.
Okay, now you need to say control freak who.
Nice. Did your son teach you that?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That sounds like something he'd say.
I love the interrupting cow one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ren, how did you do that?
Well, Hawkins taught me that one.
That's literally what I was literally just about to say. That's the only knock knock joke that I really like was the interrupting cow one.
That's a good one. You guys watch anything cool lately?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can join this one.
Okay.
I can
Ooh,
join
do
this
it.
one.
I'm
Scott,
excited.
Go ahead.
I watched Tron 1 and Tron 2 in preparation for Aries, which I haven't seen yet. I thought it was interesting because I didn't love Tron 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I watched Tron Legacy first when it first came out, and I was so pumped about it. It was Daft Punk. It was just super sexy looking, all that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah.
I went and saw it 3D, all that kind of stuff. When I had no money to buy a 3D ticket, I still did it. Like, Paige got me like a Tron ornament for Christmas. Like, that's how into it I was.
So you haven't seen Tron Ares?
So I hadn't seen Tron Ares. Anyway, Hawkins really likes Tron. Like, to watch it all the time. I'm like, it's like the only like adult movie he wants to watch. And I was like, all right. So he's like, can we watch Tron? So I put on Tron 1 and I sat down, I was watching it with what you said to me the other day. You're like, when is the last time you watched Tron Legacy? Because it was flat to me when I watched it the most recent time. And I was like, that's interesting. Okay, so had that in my mind. I've been doing all these like movies for Cinema Slime. So I put on Tron 1, and as I was watching it, as if like I was going to talk about it on this podcast, I was like, actually, Tron 1 is really good. Like, it's slow, it's contemplative, it's really a pretty deep philosophical movie wrapped in this like cheesy graphics. It was groundbreaking for the time, but like looking back, it's like super hard. But if you get past the technology wasn't ready for Tron yet,
Yeah. It's
look
like
and just take it for what it actually is, you know? Like, I was like, wow, I actually really like Tron. And then I watched Tron Legacy like the next day with him. And Tron Legacy is incredible as a follow-up to Tron. So if you guys are ever going to watch Tron Legacy again, definitely watch Tron first and like watch it from a Cinema Slime perspective. I actually think that it goes into my top favorite worlds now. The Tron world is really, really amazing. Like top 3 to 5.
It is cool.
You like Lord of the Rings, Zelda, Star Wars, and Tron probably in that order.
So no spoilers, but like I've seen Tron Ares. We talked about it a little bit, but I think I'm really curious to your follow-up after you see Ares because, like I said, I watched Tron Legacy and it was very flat. And then now that I've seen Ares, I don't know, I've just heard like a ton of negative online about Jared Leto, basically the entire cast, and just like the feel of it. And they're not wrong. Coming out of Tron Ares, I gotta say, I think it's my favorite of the three, which is really
Really?
surprising to me. And in contrast to Legacy, I'm curious how you'll feel, but I feel like Legacy really leans on the Daft Punk soundtrack.
Oh my gosh. It's like the Daft Punk soundtrack visualized.
Yes. But I'm curious if Tron Legacy didn't have Daft Punk, I wonder how dude, those two worlds intersecting in 06 or whenever 04, I can't remember exactly what year. 2010.
Yeah.
It was like magic in a bottle. It was crazy. But the new one, I don't like the music as much, but I enjoyed it more. So I'm torn. I want to rewatch the third one again. It's crazy. I'm excited for you to see it.
Me and my boy are gonna go watch it on Tuesday because cheap tickets.
Yes.
Tuesday, and
you're gonna like it.
I'll let you know next time.
Yeah, it pulls on the first and second a lot, and it's great.
That's interesting. Yeah, I would say I'm not extremely excited to see it, probably just because of the negative I've heard online. But I also haven't sat down and watched Tron 1 or 2 in a very, very long time. So
yeah,
maybe I'll hop on the train with you, Scott, and I'll watch 1 and 2 and see how it goes.
I'll admit, dude, when we were on the way to the theater, we were going with a bunch of friends. There was like 9 of us, and I dropped like $48 on tickets. And I'm just like, I just paid $50 for a crappy movie that I know this is gonna suck. Anyways, my expectations were so low. Maybe that's part of it.
Nice.
But yeah, it was. Yeah.
I mean,
You're not gonna love it.
Honestly,
you'll like it.
I feel like if you can go in with low expectations but not let that carry your cynicism through the movie, that's the best way to go watch a movie, because no matter what you watch, you're gonna like.
Totally.
How much does your expectations affect a movie, if you like it or not, would you say? Like, you think is it a big factor, or is it like, it doesn't matter?
For me, like, genuinely not at all, because I've ruined enough movies in my past that I consciously don't now.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm gonna watch it, I'm here to watch it. And I might be extremely critical of it later, but like, I really want to just take it in for what it is. And I think this podcast has helped with that too. Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah.
Like, just let me ride the movie.
No, I would say by default, I usually go into movies with low expectations all the time. Yeah. I rarely go in and I'm like hyped up for anything. Usually my expectations doesn't matter too much. It'll matter on the day I watch it. If I had low expectations and I watched the movie and it was good, then I'm like super hyped about it right after I watch it. But 99% of the time, the next day, that evening, I'll just digest it all. Then I'm like, okay, now I actually know how I feel about this movie. The biggest one I remember that happening to me was Avatar, the first one. I remember going to see that. I was so excited for it. I walked out of that theater and I was like, nothing will touch this movie ever. It's going to be the top best movie ever created, blah, blah, blah. And then like 2 days later, someone asked me like, oh, how was Avatar? And I was like, it was all right.
That was one of the movies that I've seen very few movies in 3D.
Yeah.
I'm glad I saw Avatar in 3D.
Yep, same.
Because I haven't watched it since, and I really don't think I ever cared to. Like, Dances with Wolves did it better. But it was really, really cool for the spectacle in the theater, in 3D, watching the most beautiful Square Enix cutscene I'd ever seen.
There you go. No, yeah, I think for the Avatar movies 1 and 2, it definitely was more of it was an enjoyable experience watching the movie. But as a movie as a whole, I'm just like, I don't really think about it afterwards, like I do with a lot of these movies we've watched for the podcast.
There's a ton of people who have, I don't know if this is a real thing or whatever, but it's sort of like a phenomenon with Avatar, but there's like a post-Avatar depression that people have talked about, because it's funny. Such a it's like Fern Gully, like on steroids, like, and it's beautiful.
Really, really deep nature environmentalist message, and things like that.
And it's all centered around love and connecting and like protecting nature. And then they come out of that movie and they're like, I kind of wish everything was like that. And I didn't experience that, but I'm wondering, but I'm curious how maybe that was like, it's kind of like you go into a trance when you see it, just so beautifully put together. But
man, now I'm trying to. I know I've had that. I know I've had a feeling of being depressed after a movie, because I was like, gosh, I want to live in that world. I'm trying to remember what it was. It might have been Harry Potter at one point in my life. Just watching it and just being like, wow, why can't this be real? And just being like, wow, life sucks. Like not sucks, but more like it's just boring. Like there's just nothing that interesting.
I've definitely
And-
tried to use the Force for real. Like I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Trying to turn that light off from your bed. Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
I have a question about your childhood a little bit, Scott. So the other night we watched Nightmare on Elm Street. How old were you when you watched that?
6.
That's,
Younger.
That's crazy, dude. That movie.
The
I
movie's messed up, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's terrifying.
It's just really icky, to use Harrison's words. Like the tongue out of the phone, and like the thing coming out of the wall, and like
Dude.
sucking into the bed, and like freaking heck.
Do you remember the last scene before the credits roll?
I think
this?
so. Ugh.
Do you remember?
Yeah,
Dude,
it's
wait,
through the window or something.
yeah, the door through the door window.
Ugh.
I had never seen it, and I won't spoil it, but the last scene is like such a like horror film like flex. It's amazing. It's like it doesn't look realistic at all, but just the fact that that's how they ended the movie. I was like, bravo. This
Yeah.
movie like went up a full star. Like it was, anyways.
By the way,
It's great.
I was thinking about this whole week. Ren, have we done any of your categories at all this entire time?
I don't think so because space.
Oh, space was yours.
Oh,
was
space,
mine.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe we might want to just cow and just give Ren his categories, and we can vote between those two.
No, honestly, I was looking through. I made a list of all the movies we've ever put on a list and all the themes we've done. And I was looking through it. And I was like, damn, we've watched a lot of my stuff and a lot of my themes, but Ren hasn't had many.
The guy with the randomizer app. We
Isn't
seem to
that
pick a lot of his
interesting?
films.
So I'm just manifesting that in case manifestation needs to occur.
Okay, since we're talking about it though, this deep dive that we're doing for the man himself, Don Bluth, I really like it.
Good.
I think it's cool. I don't think we should do deep dives every month,
So I
but
was thinking similarly, like obviously the deep dive into a person was cool, but having watched Tron like that, I was like, what if my category was Tron?
yeah.
And we just watch all the Tron movies in a row, and talk about them that way or something, and it would have to be worth it,
Okay,
but-
Yeah.
Let's remember this. And the next time there's like a trilogy or if something's coming out, let's kind of build towards it, and maybe we could kind of
That'd be cool.
capitalize on that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Or
no,
like when
that'd be
you
really
know a
cool.
celebrity's gonna die, we could like. no, I'm just kidding.
Dumbledore dies on page 748.
Ah.
Oh, we better do a bunch of Tim Curry movies soon then, because
Oh, man. I just watched Mudfit Treasure Island this week, too.
oh no.
I was like, why? I was watching it, and I was like, man, I love Tim Curry. And I was doing a quick Wikipedia search. He's just really private about his life. I was like, I guess that's why I know nothing about Tim Curry, because nobody knows anything about Tim Curry. But apparently he's not doing well, obviously, like you alluded to. I was watching him, and I was like, he's weird. I don't really know that I want to. It's like Jack Nicholson. That's a person I'm not sure I want to
like a
actually
tormented
meet
soul.
in life.
Yeah.
But I love Tim Curry.
Yeah.
In pretty much everything. He's creepy in the right ways. He's charming in all the right ways. All that kind of stuff. Like he's great at what he does. And then I was like, why is it that my two favorite weirdo actors that I don't ever want to meet in life, Johnny Depp and Tim Curry, are also my two favorite pirates?
Yeah.
What's up with that? Like weird.
What's going on? If I had a nickel for every weird guy I liked that played a pirate, I'd have 2 nickels.
Dude, I'd be 10 cents richer.
So have you guys seen the made-for-TV It? Have you seen it,
No.
Harrison? Okay,
No.
you have.
Yeah,
Okay.
like when I was 9.
So there's a
I
scene
haven't watched
where
it since.
one of the characters, he has a crush on Beverly, and they're like up in this room, they have this alone moment, and they start kissing. He opens his eyes and he realizes it's Pennywise. It's terrifying. So he looks back and he realizes he's just made out with Pennywise the clown, and it's Tim Curry. And so we're at the grocery store today, and I'm with Knox, and he like hugged me from behind. I looked over and he goes, "Kiss me, fat boy." And that's exactly what he says in the movie. And I was like, oh my God. And now we're talking about Tim Curry, and I was like, we quoted him today. Like he's in the
Full
lexicon.
circle, baby.
Yeah, that's really funny.
That's one of my favorite things ever. I love nuts.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
when we were at Tron Aries, this is the 50th anniversary of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Really?
Yeah.
I cannot believe it's been that long.
Yeah. 50 years. They had a bunch of cool merch and I've never seen the movie, but I wanted the shirt really bad. Cool. Well, hopefully he's doing well. Also, I just wanted to say I watched The Village for the first time since it came out. Yeah. So
That's such a good movie.
you've seen it? Everyone's seen it?
Yeah,
That's a
love
good
that
one.
movie.
I don't want to do an M. Night Shyamalan deep dive. I'm just going to put that out there right now. There will be resistance from me. The Village is really good.
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to add about The Village, but I had forgotten that this is a single scare movie. There's one scary part.
Yep.
And I was so happy. This was the first, I remember seeing this in the theater, and this was the first time I'd ever literally let out a gasp when I watched a film, when that creature like lunges towards him. When we were watching it,
It's so uncomfortable.
we were watching it, all the kids, and they were just like, this is boring. They didn't like it. But then like when that part happened, Cash like jumped and he like looked at me and I was like, yes. I knew it'd get you that one part. He didn't gasp like me. He's tougher, but I was
But
really
still.
pleased with that part. But yeah, single scare film and really a weird movie.
Aurora and Don Bluth Productions present a classic adventure in motion picture entertainment. I must tell you about NIMH. Look there. It's a fantasy with wizards and villains and heroes.
I ain't scared of nothing. I'm not even afraid of the great owl.
Will you hush up? Come on.
It's an odyssey to another world. A world of fantasy and enchantment.
To what you see and hear, you must swear absolute secrecy.
Discover the secret of NIMH and rediscover the child in us all.
Harrison, let's start with you. Why are we talking about this man?
I think the reason we're talking about Don Bluth is because I mentioned this in the last episode, but he feels like a guy who has standards and he does not want to lower them. And I feel like his time at Disney near the end, they were lowering their standards and they were trying to kind of soften up all these movies, trying to make them more, more kid appropriate. And I feel like Don's just kind of one of those guys who's like, no, like, I'm not lowering my standards. We're not going to coddle, these movies and make them less scary just because you think kids are going to be scary. We're going to tell real stories that are going to be effective and are going to impact kids as they watch them. Disney didn't want to do that. And he was like, all right, fine, I'm going to go do it myself. And I commend him for that big time because I think he's got a great list of movies that he's produced, directed, animated. And I don't know, he just seems like a guy who stick to his guns. And I appreciate that about him.
And I think maybe to add to that, not every single one of his movies is a banger. I think that's really interesting too. Like some of them are, but not every one of them. And his animation is, having watched this first movie, like I didn't realize, oh, that's Don Bluth. Like that look, that Winnie the Pooh look, that the Rescuers look, that the Robin Hood look. These movies that were absolutely formative for my childhood, that was Don Bluth, and I didn't realize it was him. Yeah, there's a lot of depth to this guy, and I agree with Ren. I have loved this week kind of prepping for this episode to talk about the movie for sure, but also to talk about and maybe conjecturize, if that's a word, about motivations as I'm kind of learning about this guy for the first time.
It's been cool diving in, like we said, but like now I can spot his animation style from a mile away. And like, it's funny, in the beginning of The Secret of NIMH, it shows one of the characters, it shows his hands like writing. I think it's Nicodemus in the very beginning. And I was like, that's Rasputin's hand in Anastasia. And like, I can now see, and then, we've talked about Don Bluth's really weird fascination with just like oral fixations and licking lips and stuff like that. And he definitely, it's so Don Bluth. And you can spot it like so easily now. It's just interesting. But it's been really cool to hear about, like you were talking about, like how he kind of pushed storytelling in these animated films, because I think he realized they don't need to be nice and good if they're cartoons. They just need to be quality. Like I'll think of like this movie in particular, I was just thinking about like the main character. She's not a princess. She's not anything special. She's like a widowed mouse trying to like feed her sick baby.
Really soft-spoken.
Soft-spoken? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, meek. Really, soft-spoken, like you said. She's lost her husband. And she's just in this chaotic world. that she's just trying to survive in. And it's completely different. And probably a reason why, like I'm pretty sure this movie played in the background when I was a kid, but like I did not care about this movie at all, like when I was a kid. To me, it just kind of had that, like, I was like, whatever, it's kind of grimy, grungy, it doesn't appeal to me. Which is cool because when you're older, a little bit more mature, you can kind of take it for what it is. And I have like a new appreciation for it rather than like, oh, I remember this part, how it made me feel. But for now, I can just kind of like see it for what it is. Take in the art, take it like I just notice all the details that have been put into it on purpose that I would have taken that for granted younger. So for whatever that's worth.
I bought his autobiography, Don Bluth's autobiography, for this. There's 4 movies that we're covering, and I read the first quarter of the book in prep for this, and I'm just going to read 25% of the book before each show and kind of share some interesting tidbits with each one. So they won't line up with the movies per se, but I kind of want to cover like where he came from. So I got to the part in his timeline where he just barely started working at Disney as an intern, and so everything that I'm going to share is basically kind of prep for who is this guy, where did he come from, and stuff. Mm-hmm. The most interesting fact to me is that the guy is like Mormon, like very Mormon, like practiced his entire life and never, like, I had no idea, right? But he just didn't like wear it on his sleeve. He just went to church on Sunday and stuff like that. But okay, so he was born in 1937 in El Paso, Texas. His dad was a police officer. So 1937 is interesting because it's the year that Snow White came out. And so when he was really young, he went and saw Snow White in the theaters because, you know, TVs didn't exist. So if, you know, doing reruns at the theater wasn't a problem. And so he might have been like 4 or 5 years old, and he went and saw Snow White, and it like absolutely blew his mind. Like it was one of those, he describes it as like, he felt like God was talking to him, like, this is your talent. Like, see this. And he's really explicit about that. Like his belief in a pre-earth life and being given talents to share with people and having like a struggle to also deal with to keep him humble. So the struggle that he's dealt with his whole life is he has like epileptic seizures and will black out sometimes. Like one time he was playing in the field as a kid and he blacked out and like ran into a tree and like, dang, blacked out. People were like, what's wrong with you? You know, he's like, I just didn't see the tree. And it was like a huge 2-foot tree or, you know, diameter tree. So he's dealt with epilepsy his whole life, stuff like that. All right. So let's see. He was born in El Paso. He helped his family save up $3,000 to buy a farm in Payson, Utah, which is just south of where Bridget and Talia live right now.
Is that Springville?
And then after living in Payson, he lived in Springville, went to Springville High School, things like that. I mean, he's just like a little Utah farm boy. And he had like jock brothers and a really manly dad. And he's like a little scrawny nerd and trying to live up to his parents and his brother's expectations and stuff like that. And all he wanted to do was draw. When he was like 5 years old, he would draw pictures to try and mimic the Disney characters that he was seeing. Those like Disney comics and stuff. He would like redraw them. He would never trace them, but he would try to draw them. And he would keep going at it and destroying, and paper was really expensive, like stuff. So it was like a struggle, but his mom really kept like feeding that creativity outlet for him. But he would pin up a drawing that he was proud of on the wall, and he would walk by and look at it. And if it was still something he was proud of, he'd leave it up. But if it wasn't, he'd take it down and he'd draw a new one until he was proud of it. And then he'd pin that up. And he's basically done that his entire life.
Wow.
Since he was like 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
He's got all these stories of animals that he grew up with, his love of animals, his love of people, a generally optimistic guy, really hard winters out there in Utah and stuff. But he just really self-deprecating and critical of the work that he did. But like the guy is legit, like absolutely eats, breathes, and loves drawing. Like if he wasn't drawing, he didn't feel complete, that kind of a person. And I was like, well, I guess that's good, because if you're going to hand animate something 24 frames per second, like you better like drawing. And he really does.
That's a cool tidbit what you just dropped, because yeah, the frame rate thing. When I was learning about that, I mean, you can see it with your own eyes, but I think typically it was like 12 when he was at Disney. And then when he started working on his own projects, he doubled it. Just the meticulous drawings, like that doubles your workload, let alone the budget and everything else on top of that.
No, honestly, like when I finished this film in particular, at the end of it, I just sat there and I was like, that was the most flex I've ever seen in animated
Yo,
film.
man.
Like there are so many scenes where I was looking at it and I was like, there is so much going on in this film. Like every single second I was watching this, I was just thinking, what was it like to animate this? What, you know, how much time did they spend on this? Like they didn't have to include so many ropes in this film flying all over the place. That's all I was thinking about this whole time. So I don't know, just his dedication and, you know, putting so much effort into this really did show.
I want to read this one little thing from his autobiography, mostly just to kind of capture like his personality, you know, a little bit. So this is when he was 18, moving to California. I guess he might have been 16. He was moving from Utah to California. His dad got a job in California. He was going to be really close to Burbank, where the Disney headquarters was, and he was really excited about it. So he says, the night before leaving Mapleton for California, I went to a movie with my two best friends, Boyd Hales and Lynn Anderson. Elephant Walk was the only flick playing in town. After the show, we said our awkward goodbyes, and they walked off. I never saw them again. The movie was about a beautiful estate built on a pathway called an elephant walk. When the elephant herd came tromping through, it destroyed everything. It was like a metaphor for my life back then. I would put down roots wherever our family moved to a town only to have them pulled up again and start all over when we moved somewhere else. It made friendships temporary and saying goodbye to close friends painful. I feel this now in the movie industry. I draw the characters, get to love them, and then have to leave them and go on to another project. Creation and destruction, hello and goodbye. Drawing is just like moving.
That's cool.
It really touched me. I was like, man, this guy has a lot of depth. And I guess, Harrison, I'm glad that you kept pushing month after month to do a deep dive on Don Bluth, because I think that I'm touched by this guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've just been saying it so many times, but sometimes there's nothing better than meeting somebody who is so passionate about maybe something very specific or just some topic in their life. And it's really cool because, you know, I don't know, my ADHD brain sometimes, where I'm just like, man, I wish I could like focus on something and get really good at it. You know, I wish I could do that like Don Bluth, like some of these other characters, and I'm happy with my life, but it's really cool to hear somebody so passionate about something.
I can connect with you on that. I feel like I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Yeah, I get that.
Don Bluth doesn't have ADHD.
No, he has epilepsy.
There you go.
He's epileptic a little bit.
Oh
You're
my
humble in
gosh.
different ways.
Yeah. So off what you said about the flex, there were multiple scenes in this movie.
Gosh, the electricity.
Dude, the fireworks, the electricity. One of the things that was cool.
Nicodemus, the owl.
Dude, the owl. Oh my gosh.
So outside of all of that, one thing I thought was cool, I just wanted to mention this, but Don Bluth was really insistent on using multi-plane cameras. And that's the way that they create like the depth with the layers. So like a mouse is kind of looking like at the bottom of like the edge of like a stair set or whatever, and then he looks over and you can see over the edge. And he just I mean, once you know that, you can totally see those elements in the film. It's really cool. But also when they did the the special effects involving they used backlit color gels, which made the glowing and all the explosions look that much more pretty. It was so cool. I was so happy to learn that.
A thought I had when I was watching this film was like a lot of the backdrops, a lot of the glow that's happening in the background really sets the tone and really sets the mood of the whole scene that you're doing. I really noticed it after she gets the medicine and she's heading out. They run into Dragon, that cat that wanders around, and the background turns into this like really like orange and reds and all that when she's kind of running away from him. And I noticed that shift in it, and it just really changed the whole mood of the whole of the scene. And it was very effective. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One thing I was not expecting was the injection of like science fiction in this like fantasy world. It was really interesting.
I want to tell you about this because there's a lot of plot twists in a lot of great movies. This was the biggest plot twist I think I've ever experienced in my life, and it changed like. So The Others is another film with a really big plot twist, and when I watched that movie, I was like, whoa, hold on. And I rewound the whole movie and rewatched it again. Secrets of NIMH did that to me too. Because I was like, wait a minute, this changes the concept of everything in this whole film. And I think it was really clever of Don Bluth to make this one of his first films that he made, because when you start up this film, you have this Disney animated idea of like, oh, these are just talking mice and these are talking rats, like, and they live on a farm and there's people there too, but everyone can talk and that's totally fine. It's not a big deal. And then you find out it's like, no, the fact that they can talk and they're civilized and they have an ecosystem and they have a culture, that's actually something about the movie. Like they were, experimented on and now they're intellectual people basically. And I didn't see it coming. I remember when the farmer gets the call from NIMH and they say like, "Hey, we want to come out, blah blah blah," and the wife mentions like, "Oh yeah, that was NIMH they were calling." I was like, "Whoa, hold on, that's the title of the movie." What does that mean?
The National Institute of Mental Health.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, no, it was very well executed. It really, like, just imagine like my brain's blowing out the back of my head because I was just like, what?
This was probably the first time like millions of people heard the word mental health.
Yeah, think about that.
Like
1982.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they're like, what is that?
What does that mean? What?
Well, it means you inject animals with super. I was like, oh, so this is where this is where, dang,
The turtles came from?
the Ninja Turtles and
The ooze.
Splinter. There we go. This is where
There we
Splinter came
go.
from.
They came from, oh my gosh. Okay, we have to make a fan theory connection between these films. I'm sure there's something
Yeah,
there.
No, I thought that. I'm glad you brought it up though. That's awesome.
Okay, so this movie, this script is not loosely, but based on a book called Mrs. Frisbee, not Brisby, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of NIMH. Okay, so I did a little bit of research into the plot of this book. It's an actual book, and I was already reading the autobiography, so I didn't read this one like I did with Fox and the Hound and stuff. But what I've gathered, the differences between these is that the book itself is really straightforward sci-fi. It has no mysticism, no fantasy. It's like there are these rats, they're injected with this chemical, they become intelligent, and they try to gain independence and to live civilized, not as rats, independent of the farmers and stuff like that. So the whole like they're stealing and they don't want to steal, that's added to the movie. Everything with the mysticism and the pendants and the glowing eyes, that's all added for the movie. The rats and the animals being experimented on being an unethical, torturous experience, that's added in the movie. In the book, it was just kind of like, by the way, that's what happened here. They were experimented on and they had all these benefits, but it wasn't a torturous, evil thing. So yeah, interesting distinction between those two. Oh yeah, the crow, Jeremy or something like that. He has a very short thing at the beginning of the book, and he's added as comic relief. Honestly, the crow is the only thing in this movie that I didn't like. I was like, shut up, go away. Every scene he's in here, like, die and leave. But he didn't. He just kept coming back.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I really think this movie could have got an extra star for me if he wasn't in the movie.
Yeah. I love the element of just this extra flavor that Don Bluth put into this movie with the existential questions of like I wrote this down. I thought this was cool. Just like talk about your identity, but Nicodemus is talking and he goes, the real point is this. We don't know where to go because we don't know what we are. Do you want to go back to living in a sewer pipe and eating other people's garbage? Because that's what rats do. But the fact is, we aren't rats anymore. We're something Dr. Schultz has made. We're something new. And just that idea of like, now that you know, now that you're aware, you can't go back. Like they've been injected with this thing that basically gives them consciousness. And now they're like without a home because they're like, well, we can't be rats because I think like my mind is expanded. I thought that was such a cool.
Why didn't I take the blue pill?
It's Secrets of NIMH is the Matrix. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I got it.
But Ninja Turtles. But it's the Matrix.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also like not like you can't rely on things the same way once you are more aware. But there was another thing where he says like a thief's life is always based on somebody else's work and like trying to become more independent now that they know how and they know how to read. And I don't know. I just thought that was cool. But also they have this like desire to like, he goes, if the ants can do it, if the bees can do it, so can we. And they're like, do what? And he goes, why live without stealing, of course. That's the whole idea. That's the plan. I don't know. I love that. That's really, it's just thought provoking.
Yeah, becoming independent. I mean, it's kind of
Self-sufficient.
Self-sufficient. That's the word.
my thought process while you were talking was I was thinking about it. You know, it's kind of like just growing up in life where, you know, as a kid, it's kind of like you're not, you know, Cash and Knox, they're not thinking about, paying the mortgage. They're not stressing about X, Y, and Z. But as they grow up and they're slowly kind of, as our kids grow up, they're going to understand these concepts. And then eventually there hits a point where it's like, okay, now you have to be an adult. You have to do X, Y, and Z. If you think about these rats and these mice, that they skip the whole middle part. They went from not knowing anything, and all of a sudden it's like bam, like now you have a conscience. Now you have to be self-sufficient. Now you have to not steal, and you have to be able to be self-sufficient on yourself. So I'm sure that was a really big shock when that occurred.
When Mrs. Brisby opens the door, it's on the screen right now, on the screen right now. When she opens the door into Nicodemus's office, and the light just like, and she's silhouetted in the shadow across the ground. I was like, oh, it's so good looking.
Yeah, one of the prettiest scenes.
So real quick, I want to. I don't know if I'm poking a hole in this or not, but so Jeremy and Mrs. Brisby, was Mrs. Brisby a part of the group that came out of NIMH? Okay.
No.
So I just don't know where she came from and like why she can talk and why she has this consciousness, or maybe she doesn't and she's just a regular mouse.
My thought was that she was a regular mouse, and because she's like, he taught me how to read a little bit. So my thought was he probably helped her learn to talk and read. And
yeah, I can see that. And then Jeremy's kind of like he can talk because it's an animated film, and he can talk basically, but he doesn't really have that consciousness like all the rats do, where it's like, no, like we're a part of a society that we're trying to be self-sufficient, and Jeremy's doesn't have that in his head. Okay.
Yeah,
So
Jeremy.
it's more like a mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy. All he cares about is hooking up with a girl crow and shiny things.
Let's be clear. Hooking up with a girl.
Yeah. That's like his whole motivation.
That was, man.
I was like, man, he is all over this.
Yeah. No. There was definitely a scene where I'm just like, hey, back off, Mrs. Brisby. Like she's
Jeremy, please leave.
Don't hit on the single mom with 4 kids. Just don't. Like, move on, Jeremy. She needs someone better in life, not you.
So I had a thought, and I was sort of, I'll walk us down this line of thinking that I had. But there was a point in this movie where I was like, dude, Don Bluth is like, for a guy to like start a mutiny and like bring animators and have them leave the magical kingdom of Disney, like kind of hypocritical, because I'm seeing these characters and they look like you said, like Robin Hood and like all these movies that we all know. But that's where my argument falls, because it's not true, because animation style is different than literally using old stock footage and like tracing new characters over them. And I had to like go through this little journey of myself to realize that that's not true.
That the reason those old characters look like Don Bluth's characters is because he created them.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, because I mean, they're a part, like, dude, the kid mice, I love like almost every scene with those kids and like their facial expressions and like pouty faces and folding their arms. And
Will Wheaton, you mean?
Will Wheaton, dude.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, like right when I heard his voice, I looked up, I was like, who is that? I watched Stand By Me maybe a year ago, and like I want to rewatch it, but like his performance in that movie was exceptional, and like his voice in this was like, I don't know why I loved it so much. It was like perfect.
He was funny.
Perfect voice. Yeah. Kind of the bratty kid. Maybe that's why we weren't shown this when we were younger. That Will Wheaton just talking back to his grandma all the time.
Shut up, Wesley.
So I just had a little thought bubble in my head right now. So they're all conscious and they have a society and they want to be self-sufficient. And there was a line in the movie where Mrs. Brisby goes and sees the great owl. And then afterwards, they're all like, oh my gosh, you went and saw the great owl and you survived? And I wonder if like the great owl is like their god or something like that. Like, I feel like there's something there.
It did feel Wizard of Ozzy.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it felt very Wizard of Ozzy. It felt very like you need to go and speak to them and figure out what you need to do. And then everyone's shocked that you actually got to be in the presence of this great owl. I just wonder if that's like, maybe that's their concept of him, that he is sort of this god or something that watches over them.
So this movie, because I'm Scott, I'm looking at it through the lens of the Save the Cat and stuff like that. This movie does not follow Save the Cat, which is refreshing, right? It's kind of nice to see a good movie that doesn't follow Save the Cat. And I had this interesting aha moment. I'm going to get back. This is relevant to what you were saying. So I had this aha moment that this movie does not follow a strict prescribed Save the Cat structure that is so ubiquitous since the early 2000s, because it was made before that, right? Now the author of that book was like, I looked back at a bunch of movies and stories and kind of codified what made for a good pacing and movie into the Save the Cat beats. But basically, since the book has been published, like any script to be considered at all by any studio has to follow the Save the Cat, because it's kind of the shortcut to good pacing. But this movie definitely follows a very traditional monomyth of the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell's version, and it's looser, and you can tell when you watch the movie that compared to like a modern Disney movie, like or DreamWorks or something like that, like The Wild Robot, for example. Like that movie had a really specific set of pacing, and like the movie shifted 3 or 4 times and stuff. Compare that to this movie. This movie is a lot looser and a lot more poetic feeling. Reminded me a lot more of what I was saying when we watched Return to Oz, where I was like, I feel like there's just a different tradition of storytelling that I'm not used to seeing in a movie, and it's kind of throwing me for a loop. Like, it's not bad, it's just different. And like, I want to keep an open mind to go like, well, just because it doesn't fit the mold that I'm used to doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just not culturally normal right now, right? And I feel like this movie has this kind of looser, more mythical feel to it. It's like all the characters are really hushed, and there's a lot of whispering and kind of like mumbling at each other and mumbling to themselves and stuff. And it was a lot of internal dialogue being voiced out loud. But to your point about the owl, at that point in the story structure is when you expect the hero to meet their mentor, the Obi-Wan, and so the owl in this movie represents a similar role as Obi-Wan does in Star Wars. The old wise mentor that is kind of scary, and they're already in this new world that they're trying to explore before they go down into the depths, which in her case is into the depths of the rat nest and all the scariness that comes with that. And obviously that was a terrifying intro to the rats. But for him to stand in that role as the mentor, like, yes, kind of in that God role, kind of in that I'm going to teach you and lead you and guide you role, like we would expect from a benevolent, but potentially awesome and scary deity, right? So anyway, I think you have something there. I think it's interesting. Whether it's literally the case or not, symbolically, it's definitely there.
Hey, everybody, just popping in real quick. If you could hit that like and subscribe button, that would really help us out a lot. But either way, let's get back to the show. Did you guys watch this with your kids?
I did.
Okay, well, what did they think about it? Because I watched it with Jamie, and he had 2 moments in the film. One, when Mrs. Brisby started talking, he was like, wow, she sounds so pretty.
I love Jamie. Thank you.
I know.
Thank you for sharing that.
He's so funny. And then and actually the owl scene, after that, he was just sitting there and he goes, whoa. Like, that blew his mind. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I just witnessed a moment.
I had already watched it for the first time, and then I put it on downstairs, and Cash was doing something. He just came over and sat down and started watching it. And like, I forget what scene, but I was just like, this is pretty cool. And then Cash looks over to me. He's like, this sucks. And I was like, dude, you just ruined this moment.
I just had that's so
he
funny.
didn't give it an honest earnest try. So I'm not saying it sucks. Yeah. But yeah, he didn't love it for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. What about you, Scott? Did your kids like it?
This is one of Bridget's favorite movies. And when she's babysitting our boys on Thursdays, she had watched this movie at least once, probably twice. And so they had seen it before, but this was the first time I'd ever seen this movie. And I was watching it with Dodger, and Dodger really likes this movie, but he's terrified of Dragon.
Yeah.
And he was a little scared of the rat when she goes down the first time.
Yeah. And
with the electric,
the electric spike.
Brutus.
Yeah. But otherwise, like, he just sat there and just like, I mean, if you know anything about Dodger, the kid cannot stop moving. Like, he will jump for like 18 hours straight in place. Like, he's that kid. And when this movie was playing, he just sat there on the couch next to me with a pillow on his lap. So if it got scary, he could cover his face and then take it down and watch the rest of the movie. And he didn't say anything. So he loved it.
It's just interesting. Like after I finished the film, I was just kind of scrolling through Reddit and I was watching a couple YouTube shorts, things like that. And I was kind of shocked at how many people commented. They were like, "Oh, this movie like traumatized me as a kid. Like it's so scary and it's so dark and it like I didn't expect it." Blah blah blah. And I don't know. I don't know. I watched it and I was like, I mean, I guess it's a little more like real. I guess a little more honest. Like they're not sugarcoating anything. They're just telling you the story as it is.
They killed
And
Chief.
yeah, like the rats are kind of scary at some points. I guess the great owl's kind of scary, but I don't know. I watched it and I didn't really hit a moment where I was like, whoa, okay, I can see how that would mess me up as a kid.
I think it's just the contrast of what everyone's used to, and then you see Don Bluth leaning into the dark side of things.
Yeah.
Like all of his movies do that.
And I wanna like make a distinction. Like this movie actually isn't dark, but it is mature.
Yeah.
Like this is a story for grown-ups with a childhood package.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks like Disney, but it doesn't feel like Disney at all. Like it genuinely doesn't feel like Disney to me.
Yeah.
And I kind of loved that. Like it was like I just watched this movie with like a slight like furrowed brow the whole time, like just taking it in. Like I loved it, but like I didn't know what to expect. And I don't experience that much watching a movie, being surprised and like living in this unknown of like, what am I going to see? Especially a cartoon, you know?
Well, on that note, there's a part where she's leaning down and she starts singing a song to her son. I was like, oh, this is very Disney. And then it like kind of zooms out and she's actually not singing. It's just the music playing. I was like, nice. Just a subtle, you don't need to sing along. Just play the music and it creates the mood and the atmosphere. And anyways, I wanted to point that out because every Disney movie, they just sing along to it.
I will say this movie does play my favorite childhood game where you're watching an animated film and you can spot what's going to move.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm serious. That was
backgrounds.
That was one of my favorite things to do as a kid. Is I would just sit there and it's like Scooby Doo did it all the time. You know, you'd be watching, you'd be like, the door's gonna open, and you'd wait for it, and then it finally opened, and you're like, yes, I got it.
Oh, I can blow up that wall because
it's
different.
I was thinking
it's slightly lighter.
I was thinking like a Monkey Island point and click adventure game. Like
yeah.
Like the quality of the animation stuff is just different than the backgrounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so this separation, there's like you said, Harrison, there's these two sides of this movie. There's like the mystical side and then there's the sci-fi grounded side, right? And everything on the mystical side actually made me feel like it felt very 80s dark fantasy to me. Like it felt like the Dark Crystal or the Labyrinth or Conan the Barbarian. And so I've said this before in this podcast, but I spent a lot of time in this world, even like Return to Ozzy, that kind of like 80s doing fantasy with the like crazy costumes and stuff like that, and the weird bird heads at the parties, and you know, it's like a really distinct flavor. I didn't realize how many flavors beyond the obvious like Dark Crystal did this, you know, kind of influences that mystical fantasy, kind of almost like mechanical mystical world had on other things that I just wasn't aware of. So like everything with the electricity shooting down things and like the amazing like magic swirls coming off stuff and the pendants floating and glowing and the really ornate like metalwork around the magical items, and the pen and quill and the glowing, like when Nicodemus starts to write and he just kind of like,
I love that.
Moves his hand across the thing, but it's like magic pixie dust comes down and writes the letters and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, so much of this is really striking this nostalgic chord for me that I didn't realize was a nostalgic chord until I was watching it in like a different in a different context than what I was used to. I've seen the Dark Crystal so many times that it doesn't give me the nostalgia anymore. It's just what it is. But being able to see something from that era that I didn't know had that in it, create a nostalgia, a homesickness, like a familiarity, was really impactful to me.
Mm-hmm.
Off of what you just said, though, but like kind of going back to like what you were saying, Harrison, also how Don Bluth just like flexes a lot, but like the string in every scene, like the line, just everything, like everything is symmetrical and even. It doesn't look squiggly. They like just that must have just been painstaking. But also like there's a part where they're kind of rowing in that boat and all the line, dude, they just like.
Yeah.
It must not have been fun to make this movie.
No, okay. Okay, like honestly,
you're
like,
John Bluth, and if you don't draw, you'll die.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you make this movie.
So look at the scene behind you guys. I mean, just the fact that it's raining, like this is one of the.
That.
Yeah,
I didn't think
like,
about the fact that it was raining too.
Just think about that. Like I said, this is one of the first animated films I watched where I was like, I'm thinking about every single scene and how much stuff is going on. Like, you got rain, there's multiple bodies, there's just so much you have to draw for every single scene. And Don Bluth was like, hey, we want to double the animation for everything. Like it's just so mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
So we're not on an animation theme. I thought we were I was gonna talk about this when we actually got to animation. We need to watch Akira at some point.
I would love to.
Because
I would love to
do that.
Because Akira has the largest flex you'll ever see in your life, where there's like skyscrapers in the background and every single window is drawn perfectly, precisely, every single like hundreds of windows on both sides. And then the building is rotating with perfect like perspective shifts. And so every single one of them is a redraw of that building, not like a shift of the building, but a redraw of that same building. But you cannot tell. And like, so this movie is definitely up there with that much more American style, but up there with the like, holy crap, you cared. You had the standards.
Yeah.
And you just flexed it.
I thought this was so funny, but there's a scene where the younger boy kind of wakes up and he like doesn't have any clothes on and he kind of stands up and there's like the arm of like a chair kind of covering his crotch. And then he puts over like something over his shoulders and then he walks out and he's not naked anymore. And then there's another part where like they have this rule that like whenever the mice are around the people, they can't wear clothes.
Yes.
I'm like, dude, that is so funny. That's like this hook that goes into like a child's imagination. It's like the Toy Story effect. Like when we're not around, like what if mice do wear clothes or talk or sword fight with staples and like I thought that was so funny.
That first scene you were talking about, it gave me the same reaction I had when I was watching Zootopia for the first time. There's a scene where they walk into this like yoga studio or something like that. Or no, it's like this building and all these
like
animals are doing yoga, but they don't have any clothes on and they're like stretching it. And I literally was like, oh my, wait. Like,
that
was so cool. I was like, wow, I can't believe. I love movies that make me have those unique reactions. You're like, I don't know why I just did that.
Oh man, and the way they set it up too, specifically in that movie, that it's like a really hippie yoga place.
Yes.
And with the fact that they're not wearing clothes, like you infer all this stuff about it. That's perfect.
That was cool. I want to point out the ending where the bad guy gets killed.
Oh, you mean the ending where there's lots of blood and like stabbing and death?
It shows the stab, and I love the element of the reluctant like participant in the evil deed, and he's the one who throws the dagger into him and kills him. And I was like, dude, that is dark and awesome and like necessary. I mean, that's what adds to the depth of this movie.
It was straight up Northman.
Yeah, it was so cool. I was like really surprised at like how violent it was.
No, yeah, I'm gonna have to look into why I like this so much, but I really love the reluctant villain. It's one of my favorite archetypes. Like, think of Wilkins from Jungle Book. Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but that character is always so interesting to me because it's just this constant push and pull of like, okay, you're a bad guy, but you don't want to do it. And like, you kind of want him to survive. You want him to have a redemption moment. and most of the time they don't get it. And it feels just kind of stabs you in the heart a little bit more.
Wilkins, you son of
My
All right,
goodness.
Can we talk about things that didn't work?
I mean, we've already mentioned it, but Jeremy is probably the number one thing in this film that just doesn't work. Like,
That's like consensus. Yeah.
yeah, it's just consensus. Like, it almost feels like Don Bluth. Like, I don't know the whole story about it, but in my head, I almost feel like Don Bluth like maybe doubted himself a second and was like, "Okay, let's put the bird in there. Like, let's have like a light comic relief character in there, just so it's not so dark or would you mature? That was the word you said. So it's not so mature, and there's something that people can latch onto.
So it's not powerful like Spirit Away or Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind.
Yeah,
Let's just tone it down so it's not good.
Yeah, just bring it in. Yeah. Yeah, I would say
Let's,
Jeremy's
let's
the big one.
Prometheus this a little.
I think like the villain rat at the end who wants to like conquer him. I didn't really care about him, really. I was just like, okay, like I feel like it adds to that kind of vibe of it's a society, and that this is struggles that real people go through, and they have a conscience that it's like, oh, I want to be on top, I want to rule this little kingdom I have that I'm a part of. But I don't know, I just didn't really care about him that much.
I was just gonna say the ending scene with Jonathan is like laughably not good.
Yeah,
Like when they're like he finds his mate and they like have the string and they kind of like make a heart shape or whatever as they flap in the distance. I don't know. Felt a little not lazy, but just kind of like is that couldn't have been the best. So wait, Scott, I'm curious. You're the fellow Daft Punk fan, but when Paul Williams started singing the last song in the very end, did it make you think of touch? I remember touch. I thought I had to go listen to that song right afterwards.
Oh,
Shout out Paul Williams.
I just remember when I was getting Hawkins into Daft Punk, and I was just like playing everything.
Yeah.
Just like straight up started the earliest discography that's just like super experimental, and got him used to like the weird stuff. And then we got into like Peak Discovery and Tron and things, and then Random Access Memories. And Touch came on, and Hawkins was like, "Why are we listening to this? Let's listen to Daft Punk." And I was like, "This is terrible. No, stop." And I was like, "No, this is one of their songs." He's like, "No, it's not." He was so mad at me. Whew.
You're like, in 5 years, you'll love this. All right.
Yeah, I swear. The scene going on behind you guys real quick, just as a quick aside, I legitimately thought they were going to die. Like 100%. I was like, her kids are going to drown. Like, there's no way this is going to come
Forgot
out.
about the magic.
So Paige came in and was like, I'd been telling her stuff about Don Bluth from the autobiography, and her only experience is like, he makes their mouths move weird, and it creeps me out. So she's watching, she's like, oh wow, like this looks good and stuff. And I was like, I looked up at her with like wide eyes, and I was like, this movie is really intense. And she's like, watching it, but does not know what's actually occurring, like the significance of a cinder block going into the ground. And I was like, yeah, that's her house, and her children are inside being like sunk into a mud puddle, and like they're gonna die. And she's like, what? And they're like dragging her away, and she's like, my kid. She's like, oh my gosh, this is really dark. And I was like, I'm telling you.
It is.
Yeah, so what were you gonna say, Harrison?
No, yeah, okay. So what did you think about the magic at the end of her lifting up the cinder block and saving the day because of magic?
I'm just gonna talk about my two things that I didn't like about this movie. And they could have been really good. I think the whole coup to take over and the whole mystical magic thing with the pendant and courage were like side stories that if you wanted a more coherent movie, they wouldn't be there. Or they would have been integrated more fully into the rest of the movie. But they really are sideshows, and they feel like sideshows. They're beautiful sideshows. They're interesting sideshows. But if this were run through a Save the Cat, through a prescriptive Save the Cat template, they would have been axed. Both of those elements, they would have been axed early in this process. But they didn't. And I think that part of me goes, they are sideshows, but I also kind of like them. And I kind of don't want to be too critical of them, even though they don't quite fit. And this comes from someone who rigorously is trying to come up with really tight pacing, high quality stories for Paige's books, stuff like that. So we're still in the process of polishing the final pass of Paige's first book she's going to publish. And I think about this all the time. And I think this movie did a lot for me in going, sometimes it's okay to just make an artistic movie and just take the punch that some people aren't going to love it and it doesn't fit quite right, but it's still okay. Because this movie's beautiful with it, and I don't think it would be as good without it, but it still doesn't fit. Like, it's both are true at the same time.
I completely agree. Like, with just what you're bringing up, how it's not in this format of Save the Cat. Like, when I think about the movie, I'll be honest, like, the first viewing, like, when I recall the film and, like, the events, it's sort of foggy. Like, it's like, it doesn't have...
It's like you're watching things happen.
Well, it's similar to the Return to Oz, too. Like, it's just like, they're like, yeah, they went all these random paths, and the story kind of weaves and goes around, and it all works out in the end. But, like, I don't know. I'm with you. Like, I'm trying to, like, digest this pacing and this type of story that is trying to tell. I don't know.
If I can come back to and reiterate what I said, the hero's journey is universal. Like,
yeah.
Like, you can see it everywhere, and pretty much every single good story, from the Odyssey to Star Wars to the Secret of NIMH, you know, even Save the Cat stories, they all follow this hero's journey to some degree. And there are several ways to templatize that, and Save the Cat is one of them. But Save the Cat, what it does bring to the table, for better and worse, depending on the quality of the script, is pacing. Like, it really brings this tight pacing, and we're so used to tight pacing right now. And if a movie doesn't follow tight pacing, it feels off. And I just don't want to commit to say that the movie's wrong because it's got loose pacing. It might be less gripping, less engaging, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there's also some, like a slower depth that, like, grabs your heart longer from a movie like The Secret of NIMH, that you don't see in, like, The Wild Robot, that had heavier hits for shorter amounts of time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There was one, I don't want to not mention the scene with the injections.
Ugh.
That, like, that coming to the conscious, like, the DNA strands. I thought that was really cool.
Reek. I thought Spider-Man did it first. Nope.
That was really cool.
It was like halfway between 2001: Space Odyssey and Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just the last thing I want to highlight as far as things that were great about the movie before we go into more is Jerry Bruckheimer's soundtrack. I just thought was, like, not familiar at all to me, but like kind of iconic. Not quite, but, like, there was just parts of the movie where I was like, dude, this feels like what movie did it? It made me think of, like, E.T. Just like this era of just, like, Hollywood film soundtracks, and it's not the same guy who did E.T., but it had this flavor of that I really liked. One other thing too, I'm kind of bouncing all over, but I have a lot of notes, and this is a crazy movie. Another flex that Don Bluth did, but in the original story, when they do those injections, it's just like a kind of not a big deal, but they just kind of inject it in the hip. And I wrote down one of the quotes that Nicodemus says about the injections, but he says they were putting a bright red liquid, into a hole that they had drilled into our heads. I was like, that's so cool to, like, take it from the hip into drilling it into their heads. I was like, that's cool.
Like, oh my gosh.
So props to Bluth.
So going back to Bluth's childhood, he has a lot of stories about animals and taking care of them and loving them and naming them. He grew up on a farm. Farmers and farm boys don't name their pets because they die.
Yeah.
You know, but he had him and his brothers named all of their cows. They lived on, like, a 24 cow dairy farm, and they named all the cows after his brother's girlfriends, stuff like that. Just funny things.
That's awesome.
And funny stories. Like, honestly, you should read the autobiography at some point. Like,
recommend.
Really funny guy. He's writing it when he's, like, 85 years old. So it's like the old man looking back at his life, laughing at all the funny things and the hard things through this lens of, like, an old man now.
Yeah.
One story that I thought was really interesting that kind of highlights how much he loves animals in a really practical way. Like, he's not like a bleeding heart, like, you know, animal rights activist kind of person. He's a farmer in the 40s, you know, like there's a practical nature with it. But he had a monkey accidentally. Someone was like, we're moving, we need to get rid of this monkey. And he's like, we have a farm, we'll take a monkey. And he was, you know, like 10 years old or something like that.
Wow.
So he took care of this monkey on his farm. And one day they came outside and there had been a frost and the monkey was like frozen dead on the ground.
Oh no.
And it was just absolutely devastating. And, you know, they brought the monkey in and set it down on the ground and went out and did their chores. And when they came back in, the monkey had thawed by the fireplace and revived.
Oh
No
my
way.
gosh,
And
what?
was like destroying the plates in the house. And the mom was like, we have to get rid of the monkey. So they gave it to the zoo. But he's like loved the monkey. And he was like, I believe that all animals, monkeys, all dogs go to heaven and stuff like that. And I was like, that's kind of sweet. Like this guy really has so many things that have influenced his movies. Like, you just, if you believe that animals have souls and that they go to heaven, like, you making 1 million movies with deep animals in them, like your friends as a kid, like, that just makes so much sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys read about the whole Brisby frisbee thing?
I think it was just like a copyright. Like they just didn't want to get sued, right?
Yeah. Now,
Was it preemptive or was there any like litigation?
No.
Cease
So
and
this
desist.
is basically what happened. Was they did all the voice lines, they did all the voice acting for the film, and then they got nervous about the fact that she was called Mrs. Frisbee, and so they contacted whoever owned the copyright for that, and was asking for a pass on it basically, and they were like, no, like you can't use Frisbee as her name. So they were able to get some of the actors to come back and redo those lines, but there was others they couldn't. And so they had to do in post-production, they basically had to go through and audio edit out the FR sound at the beginning, and then they searched through the whole film for any other voice lines that had breh, just the sound breh.
Wow.
And then they had to go through and insert that into every single line that they couldn't get, if they couldn't get the voice actor to come back and redo it, the line. And all that's happening back in the day. Like,
That's pre-computer.
That's
yeah,
insane.
that's bonkers. Like,
I don't know
dedication
how
right
you
there.
do that. Yeah, that's crazy.
No, like, yeah, absolutely crazy. I just have a few little things. These are the first like 4 or 5 things I wrote down as soon as this movie started. Okay. I wrote down United Artists logo is super lame. I expected better.
I wrote they should bring that back. I think it's cool.
It popped up.
It's lame.
It popped up, and I was just like, really? Like, that's what you got? I also wrote down glitter because there was a good amount of glitter in this film.
Yeah,
I'm
a
actually
lot of
kind of
pixie
curious.
dust.
Like, my slight recollection of like All Dogs Go to Heaven and Dragon Lair, there's a decent amount of glitter. So I'm curious if that's like a Don Bluth signature or something like that.
There's glitter in Anastasia.
There is a lot of glitter in Anastasia. I also wrote down why do long fingernails wig me out? Because there's a decent amount of them. And what is it? That the great owl has really warty feet and Nicodemus has really warty hands. I thought that was interesting.
The shrew's mouth when she talks is terrifying. All right. So I was trying to find what's the difference. Like, when does Don Bluth go for like horror fuel mouth versus just a normal talk? And I think it's when they're supposed to be like loudmouthed or evil. He like overemphasizes the teeth and the tongue movement because it makes it scarier and unnatural. And I was surprised that he applied it to the mean but well-meaning shrew. That was kind of a weird thing.
Yeah. I was like transfixed. Oh, just a note on that, but I was just admiring like what you're talking about. Just the animation style of everyone when they talk. But like if you look at all the mice, they talk with like their whiskers on the side. They talk with their ears, obviously their mouth, but like their eyebrows, their eye, like everything moves when they animate every character in this movie.
Yeah.
And it can kind of like, I don't know. I think that's what wigs you out when you're
It's
a
a
kid.
little overwhelming.
Yeah, it's not just
so
eyebrows
much
to the
of-
mouth. Yeah, it's everything. And when they walk, and then everything is. I mean, there's some scenes where it's kind of like glitchy, or not glitchy, but just kind of like rough.
Well,
But
it's a lot
overall,
more
it's awesome.
bigger movement than what we're used to seeing. Because like people, like when we talk, lots of times it's it's your eyebrows, it's your mouth, yourself, maybe around your eyes. But like with in this film, it's like they have ears, they have whiskers, they have like
Yeah,
bigger things that are moving while they talk.
yeah.
The last line I wrote, one of the first things I wrote down was, "Can't die from pneumonia." Ha! It's like you could definitely die from pneumonia.
Let's see. Dragon, I think rivals the bear from Fox and the Hound.
Really, I found the bear more terrifying for sure, but I can see
think
it.
the dragon's crazy eyes are crazy eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that one weird eye.
POV, that time you look at a cat and it looks like a devil.
Yeah.
All right, so slimiest scenes for me was if I close my eyes, I see the silhouette of the dagger slamming into Jenner's back,
Yeah.
or whatever his name is.
Yep.
And just the like arched back and the thunder flash and I was like, ooh. And then the scene where Mrs. Brisby has the pendant and like all the magic stuff is just flexing out of her. And it's just like, it just keeps going and it keeps getting bigger and more magical and stuff. Like, that is like, I want that cell on my wall.
Yeah. There are so many pretty like landscape art pieces in this film. It's awesome. I would say for me, the slimiest scenes, I think, when they're around all those jewels and they're like I think it's the owl's, just his owl hole in the tree, maybe, or maybe it's the rat hole. I can't remember where all those jewels are, but that scene for me. And then basically the last 10 minutes of the movie. I mean, if you just watch that with like some psychedelic trivia music, like
You're set.
yeah, you're set.
You're gonna have a good evening.
Yeah, you're gonna have a great time. No, it's just so pretty and very, yeah. That was mind blowing. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Did you give us your rating?
It's a 4, solid 4. I want it to be a 4.5. The freaking crow just died. I wish that they had more dynamic voice acting, like rather than it's just a bunch of people talking hushedly at each other. It felt like watching The Prestige.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. I'm like more 3.5 to 4, but I'm gonna go 4 just because of what we talked about. The technicality of it all and the swings. Don Bluth, this is his first like independent feature film. It's ballsy. He took a huge swing with this, and
it smells like indie, but doesn't look like indie.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that. Yeah, so I would say slimiest scenes for me, definitely the whole storyline of the experiments on the rats, that whole scene, because it was just like I said, it was just so like blow my brain out of the back of my head moment that it really stuck with me, and it really changed the concept of the whole film for me. I also I'll get to that when I get to the rating, but I would say my next slimy scene would be the great owl and him stepping on that spider. I think that
Oh
that was pretty impressive.
I forgot about that.
And
Well,
okay,
stunning.
the other big flex in this, I thought, in terms of animating, another one of those moments where you're like, whoa, there's so much going on, was the owl having those cobwebs like all over his body. That was a moment I was like, he did not need to do that. Like he would have looked just fine without them, but they just went for it.
No sense other than that's incredible looking.
Yeah, most definitely. I would say, in terms of rating, I think I'm going to give it a 3.5 for me. I enjoyed watching it. I will say this. I want to watch this movie again pretty soon, I would say, because I don't know. I feel like I want to digest it just one more time and really kind of look at it, because kind of like we mentioned before, like Jeremy's just kind of a rough part of the whole film. I didn't really care about some of the society things with the rats and all that stuff. And I don't know, there was just things about the story that was a little just didn't really jive with me very well. And maybe I just need to watch it one more time to really appreciate it. But the technicality of the whole film is just absolutely incredible. And I think there's just very, very strong moments. The other thing about it is I felt like I was watching a story, and then once you learn that the rats have been experimented on, they kind of gain a conscious through that. I was like, whoa, I want to hear more about that. but then they kind of kept, but then they were like, okay, that's interesting, but we're going to stick with this story. And it's like, whoa, I want this story though. Like, it's like, I want to know more about that. I want to know about their beginning. I want to know what happened between the time of their escape and then when this movie started. That's what I want to know.
So you want to see NIMH, the hunt for Gollum?
Yes. I still don't understand that. I still don't get it. Well, it's just the thing is this. So I feel
when
like
it gets closer, I'll probably have more to say about Gollum. I've been learning a lot about the Lord of the Rings world that is not just part of the main books that everyone knows about. And the story that they want to tell has a lot of depth to it. It's a parallel story between The Hobbit and kind of parallel leading up to when Gollum tracks down Sam and Frodo in the second movie. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on around the war and what Aragorn's doing and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting stuff. So I think that it could be good, but it's compiling notes basically.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is really a fair comparison, but in A Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones TV show and everything, there's this really strong vibe of there's a very strong concrete story that happens before the show even starts, and you really feel it as you watch the film, as you watch the TV show or even read the books. Like you're like, there's this whole story back then. I want to know about it, but the current story you're reading is just as interesting, and it really parallels with what happened in the past as well, and it's a nice mixture of it. And this one, and so I'm very satisfied. I'm not like, I don't think I need a book going over everything that happened in the past. It'd be cool, but I don't think I need it. For Secrets of NIMH, I almost was like, I kind of want to know what happened in the past, because what's happening now isn't as interesting as what happened back then.
So you want to hear about Jonathan's story?
Honestly, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I want to know about him, because it's just kind of,
well,
I don't know. It felt like it was like, oh, Jonathan is a dead guy and we're following his wife right now, and everyone revered him and really appreciated who he was. But I feel like we just don't know who he really was and what he did. And I want
his wife didn't even know who he was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
From his cage, he watched his master and mimicked his every move and learned ninjutsu.
Oh my gosh, Scott. TMNT, Secrets of NIMH, same thing.
You just
so
pulled
good.
it closer than I ever realized. I was just thinking about the ooze and the injections, but you just took it a whole step further, dude. That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, he didn't die. He was kidnapped and brought over. That's what happened.
Yeah, the Ninja Turtles are like, we can't just go back into the sewer.
So he accidentally ended up in New York.
Oh man.
Splinter is Mr. Brisby.
Oh my gosh.
He's not
That's
dead.
perfect, guys.
You wait for my fan theory video coming out next month.
It's gonna be amazing.
That's cool.
One last fact before we wrap up, I just remembered it. So we don't ever actually learn what Mrs. Frisbee's first name is. It's just Mrs. Frisbee or Mrs. Jonathan Frisbee. That's all she's called. And big fans of the show of this movie have dubbed her first name to be Elizabeth, I believe, and that's because the voice actress who played her was Elizabeth, and apparently she was a big gal and everyone loved her. But yeah,
Nice.
little fun fact.
Call out my name.
Well, I enjoyed this movie, but I'm excited to dive into An American Tale next week.
Yeah.
Also a movie I've never watched.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, Five Foot Goes West was my like default with that one. I actually didn't even know. I literally didn't even know there was another one. I thought Five Foot Goes West was the only one.
I did know of it, but yeah, when we were kids, like Five Foot Goes West was always on.
Yep.
That didn't get selected for our selection.
Or 10. Oh, I can't think of the song. 10-pound underpants or something like that, or whatever.
I don't know.
16
yeah,
tons.
I remember the spider with all the. He has like 8.
Yeah.
guns.
I just remember the dog.
Yeah.
I just remember the dog with the jowls. Like that's what I remember.
And there's like a hot cat.
I might watch both. Maybe I'll watch both.
Do you remember the hot cat? She has like the little like thing around her top of her leg, and she's like trying to look all hot.
Oh yeah, she's like the sexy cowgirl with the gun.
I'm I'm nervous to watch it now because I'll just be like, oh my gosh, that explains so much.
All right, guys.
All right,
This was a
awesome.
lot
Yeah.
of fun.
All right.
Next time.
Tons of fun, guys.
All right. Have a good night. Adios. Thanks
Yeah.
for listening.
Love you guys. Bye.
Love you.
That's a wrap on another episode of Cinema Slime. We hope you enjoyed it. This episode was a production by your hosts, Harrison Jensen, Ren Jensen, and Scott Shepard. Harrison handles the mixing, editing, and production, and Ren, that's me, takes care of the art and design. Want to join the conversation? Let's connect. Find us on Discord for film discussions, movie recommendations, and everything cinema. Be sure to subscribe and leave a comment, and you can also connect with us on social media and show your support on Buy Me a Coffee, and we'll give you a shout out if you'd like. All links can be found in the episode notes.